Giờ,
but only
giờ
if
chị
the
đang
plan is trained.
tập huấn
So if somebody
liên
is
phong
not here that couldn't make it, they cannot
liên
qualify.
phong để làm giống như là từ thiện của hàng vắng đó. Nhưng bây giờ cái phone này sắp hết pin rồi cho nên mình tắt rồi chỗ bán phật cho hồ dưới
Is a person sitting at the desk, and if you'll just pass these out, we'll take those and then take these. This is the training guide, and this is everything I'm going to talk about all written down. So you don't have to write it all down. You don't have to remember it all. This is everything I'm going to say. But if you really want to get it, turn it to page 3 because thank you. In a few minutes, we're going to come back to that page 3. Was there other extras? You got one. Everybody got a training guide? Did she get one? Does she want one? She want one? You got one for you? Okay. There you go. Okay. Do you want your own Pastor Chen or? Sure. There you go. We got plenty. Like I said, this is the training guide. If after I leave and you guys are talking amongst yourselves and one of you says, she said this, and the other one goes, no, this is what she said. There's where you go to figure out. And if that doesn't answer the question, call me. Not today, because I want to answer the rest of the afternoon. Taking the afternoon off. Lyndon, call me and I'll answer any questions. That's my job. For you guys to be able to do this. Okay? So page 3 has some important information, and we're going to come back to that in a minute. Let me get my page 3. And then, so here is another little packet, because it's all about the paperwork, right? We got to have the doctors and the nurses, but now we have to have the people who are willing to do all this paperwork. This is another packet, and this is, these are the forms that are actually what you'll fill out. They're going to be blank ones that are in a folder, a patient folder, and when you sit down, so you're going to, you're going to sit down or you're going to be on the phone, either way is fine. You're just going to let the person know that you have some questions that you need to ask them, and they just need to answer them. And based on that information, that will either qualify them or, unfortunately, sometimes may not qualify them. But that's what we have to do. Everybody get one? So,
chưa cái sample để cho mình biết cách đi.
So this is the financial eligibility form, and this is the first form you're going to want to do with the patient, because if based on some of these answers they may not qualify, they cannot be seen at the clinic, unfortunately. Would love to be able to help everybody, but there's going to be some parameters, unfortunately. The first thing it says up here is confidential. The information that you take and goes on this form and nowhere else. It goes in your patient record, and that's where it stays. Okay? And on the flip side of that confidentiality is the information that you're taking from these patients needs to be confidential. It needs to go on these forms and nowhere else, and not. I don't know how you have it set up, Pastor Chin. Are you going to do well? I keep thinking you're going to have people come in. You're going to be doing it over the phone, so that then there's not so much question about eligibility, unless it's as a walk-in, and if you have some time the week of the event, somebody comes in as a walk-in, just have them somewhere where they're going to be giving a lot of personal information that there's not a lot of other people walking around and overhearing that information. But we're going to start out. Is there any questions?
Yeah, like the form here, if somebody and they want to fill out the form, but we know the income, mine, and what they call me. Right. So what I do.
So I would start filling it out, because and we're going to talk about the income. There's a chart here, but there's some the family unit we have to talk about for you to determine. Maybe they would qualify. So if that's what, you're not sure if they're gonna qualify based on their income, or you know they won't.
Maybe I know they want.
Right, then there's no reason to fill it out. Because but as we get into the family unit, they may. So you know what? Well, that's all we can do. If you're not sure, you know, you can look at this, and then once you know how to do that determination, then you'll know. But if they are over the income level, they cannot be seen. There would hopefully be some other resources that you could maybe refer them to, some other dental places that may have sliding scale or something like that. I don't know. And I hate to put you on the spot. Are you familiar? I don't know. That would be something that somebody could resource. So I don't know specifically, but there's a place called Agape, and I don't know if they have sliding scale dental. Somebody could either resource it, you know, look up for sliding scale dental services. But all I know is if they have to qualify based on these parameters, or they cannot be seen. So, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the family unit because it's not based on the whole household. So we'll talk about that in a minute. The first qualifier or disqualifier, that very first question says, does the client or patient have insurance that covers their health or dental condition? You're not concerned whether they have health insurance because we're not providing health care services. We're only providing dental. So in essence, they cannot have dental insurance. Okay, so that's the first qualifier or disqualifier.
So when you ask that question, sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
You ask that question, and when they say, yes, they have insurance, you're done.
That you don't need to go
Don't
any
even go
further.
any further.
Because they do not
Because they do
qualify.
not qualify.
Chị này không có bảo hiểm chứ hả?
Just to clarify, so if they have health insurance but no dental insurance, they still not covered.
They do qualify.
You qualify.
So the answer to the question is really relative to what they're coming to the clinic for, because it's really two questions in one, which I don't like this
Giờ
question.
là
But
ai muốn
they
có insurance của
make a form.
của
I
đang
didn't get any
của
choice in all
đang
these
có được.
questions. But if they have health insurance but no dental, it's asking, does the client have insurance that covers their dental condition? Really, you can just phrase that question that way. Do you have dental insurance? And that's what has to be known. So they could have health insurance and say, yeah, but I don't have any dental. Then they would qualify. The answer to that first question is no, they do not have dental insurance. Okay. Good question. Any other questions? Even if somebody says, well, I've got dental insurance, but I've got a $200 deductible and I can't afford it. If they have dental insurance, they don't qualify. So sometimes that's the case too, unfortunately. The second sentence says, does anyone in the client or patient's family have an active Florida Medicaid card? Now the answer to this can be yes. Well, Medicaid covers medical care, and they have Medicaid providers. If somebody is covered under Medicaid, they go to a medical provider that's a Medicaid provider. If you ask them and ask them if they have Medicaid and they say no, that's as far as you've got to go. But if they have Medicaid, sometimes some Medicaid plans have Medicaid dental. So they cannot, if they have Medicaid dental, they don't qualify. And if you can just think of it, we're trying to help the people that don't have anything. So they can't have dental insurance and they can't have Medicaid dental, or they don't qualify. Okay? So any questions with that? So if somebody says, no, I don't have Medicaid, then they're not going to have Medicaid dental, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay? You may get a situation where a mom says, well, my kids have Medicaid, they have Medicaid dental, but I don't have anything. So she could qualify to be seen at the clinic if she doesn't have it, even though her kids do. That's why that question number 2 says, does anyone in the family? So that answer can be yes. The first one's got to be no for dental. Second one can be yes, but not the patient. I'm trying to help the people who don't have anything. Any questions? The next line asks for the name of the cardholder and Medicaid number. And I have NA there. That does not apply. I do not want that Medicaid number. put down, okay? You don't have to have proof of anything. You can ask for an ID or a driver's license, but they do not have to have anything, okay? That is all self-declared. What they tell you is what you put down. It's not your responsibility to know whether they have insurance. Okay. The next line asks for the client, patient, head of household. The person that you're talking to, taking this information from, which is possibly again on the phone, their name is going to go there. And what's going to happen, so usually I say, and then you're going to hand this form to that patient, because at the bottom, the person whose name is there is who's going to sign this form. And they're signing, certifying that the information they've provided is true and complete. So what's going to happen, if you guys are doing this on the phone, that's okay. But you're just going to need to, if you're the person that's going to be at the dental event, is this information all correct? And whose name is here is who you're going to get to sign and date this form at the time when they come in for their dental appointment. Okay, any questions? The next line is the address, and it doesn't matter what the address is their street address. If they're homeless, that's okay, but it does need to be Florida. So our program was designed to help the residents of Florida. So they can come really from any county, as long as somewhere on here it's saying Florida or Jacksonville or whatever. If they're homeless, that's okay too again, but I would put Florida on there. Any questions? Next line is the telephone or contact number. They have their own phone, great. If they don't, I would try to get a phone number. If we've had situations where the bus broke down, and you don't want to have somebody that would come maybe from far away, and the bus broke down and they're not going to be here till later or something like that. Or sometimes the phone number is good if there's some people that didn't show up. You can call somebody and say, we've had 3 people not show up, can you come in? We can see you today. So the phone number is important, and that's why we use it. Again, sometimes people don't want to give their phone numbers. They're a little bit nervous, and that's why I explain the confidentiality. But it's for your benefit and for you as a clinic to have that person's either their direct contact or a friend, a neighbor, relative, something like that. Any questions, any comments with that first section? Okay, now we're going to go into section number 2. And it reads across the top of that block, the family size, number of adults, number under 18, 18 to 21 student, unborn, and total family size. Now I need that filled in, but at this point, you cannot just ask the person how many adults in the house, how many kids. It's not based on the whole household. We're going to narrow it down to our program's definition of what a family unit means, okay? So here's where on that page 3, in that other booklet, up at the top of that page 3, I'm going to just read it. It says family unit. List the number of adults and children. Children include those unborn and add together for a total. Then it goes on to say a family unit means one or more persons living in the same house who are related by blood, marriage, law, or who are cohabitating partners. If the dwelling includes more than one family or more than one unrelated individual, eligibility determination is separate for each family unit or unrelated individual and not for the dwelling as a whole. That's a lot of information. I'm going to bring it in a little bit and give you some examples, okay? So, back to our financial form. And again, this is the first form you're going to want to fill out with a patient, because if they don't qualify based on some of this, you don't want to fill all these other forms out and then go, oh wait, you have no insurance. So again, we're going to use this first one. But at this point, we have Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, are you married or single? That's going to kind of open up that line of questioning. And if he says, I'm married, so Ann is going to be listed here as spouse, okay? What binds the family together is marriage, Okay, that's what we're talking about, what makes this a family unit. So he says, I'm married to Ann, okay, so she's gonna be listed as spouse. Any children in the home? Yeah, her son Mike, I'm a stepdad, okay, he's gonna be listed as a child. Any females in the home pregnant? Ann's pregnant, we're gonna have a baby. The unborn can be counted, okay, so you've got 2 adults, 1 under 18, 1 unborn, so a family unit of 3 people, but we can count it as a family unit of 4, okay? So let's back it up. Mr. Johnson, are you married? He says no. Do you live by yourself? No, I live with my girlfriend, Ann. So she would still be listed, but now she's going to be listed as cohabitating partner. So she would still be part of that family unit on here. Any children in the home? Yeah, her son Mike. I'm like his stepdad. Okay, great. Any females in the home pregnant? Ann's pregnant. We're going to have a baby. So same scenario. 2 adults, 1 under 18, 1 unborn, family size of 4. Okay. Back it up again. Mr. Johnson, are you married? No. Do you live by yourself? No, I live with Ray. Is he your partner or is he your roommate? If he says that is his partner, we consider that a family unit of 2 according to our program definition. So we would list the 2. If he says nope, he's just a friend, I rent out my back room to him, I rent out the back room to 10 people. If none of those people are his partner or spouse, then they are not going to be listed on here. It would just be a family unit of 1. Okay? I'm going to take it into a different direction. So, well, let me come back and read this. So, looking back at our family unit definition, so we talked about being related by marriage and being cohabitating partners. Now it's talking about who are related by blood. And we know what that means. That's your family. But once you're 18, even though you're related by blood, a family member in your home, once you're 18, you are then considered a separate family unit for these purposes. So let's say you've got a mom and a dad and a 15-year-old and a 20-year-old. Well, let me back it up. Let me give this example first. Let's say you got a mom and a dad, and his mom and dad live in the house too, grandma and grandpa, okay? They are over 18, so they all live together, but you've got 2 separate family units. Grandma and grandpa, they're over 18. The adult son is over 18. He's 20 or 30 or 50 or however old. His family would be a separate family unit. They all come to see the dentist. You would do 2 forms, one for grandma and grandpa, one for adult son or daughter or whatever, and their family, okay? So this, being over 18 separates the family unit. There's one exception to that. Well, I'm going to take it again. This is what I started to say. You've got a family unit of a mom and a dad and a 15-year-old and 20-year-old. The 15-year-old is part of the family unit. He's a minor, right? That 20-year-old, he's over 18. If he's not a student, he would be a family unit of 1. If he's a student 18 to 21, and I'm going to kind of flip you back here, 18 to 21, and actually it's on your page 3, that second bullet, a single adult, bless you, 18 and over, living with relatives is considered a separate family for income determination purposes, like I was just saying. However, if it's a student 18 to 21 living at home, they shall still be part of that family unit. So, and this is so why when you just said looking at this poverty level chart, you can't just look at it because you got to figure out who's in that family unit first, because that could make a difference for that income, and it might be helpful and it might not. But anyway, so 18 to 21 living at home, still be part of the family unit. But say he's 20 years old and he's not a student, and you've got dad sitting in front of you doing what dad does. He's getting the paperwork filled out so 20-year-old Johnny can see the dentist. Well, you get to this part and you say, oh, Johnny's not working, he's not going to school, he's 100% dependent on mom and dad. But if he's not a student, he's going to be a family unit of 1. I need 20-year-old Johnny to come and sit down and fill this paperwork out with me. He doesn't have any money, he doesn't work. It's all right, he's going to be a family unit of 1 with 0 income, okay? The other part of the family, mom, dad, and 15-year-old are gonna be on their own separate form. Mom, dad, and 15-year-old. The 20-year-old lives there, he's just not gonna be showing on this form, he's gonna have his own form. Any questions with that?
So it doesn't matter if you think 18 to 21, you go student, and you call them out, and that person's in
If
family.
they're a student, yes ma'am, that is exactly correct. I mean, you could have, adult sister and her kids, everybody's one big happy family, but if they all come to the dentist, you're gonna have mom and dad, you're gonna have adult son and his family, you're gonna have adult daughter and her family, 3 of these forms, okay? Good question. Any other questions? So do you have a certain scenario that of a family unit to figure out, or is it just a single person?
Single person.
A single person, then it would strictly go by this, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But anyway, so now that you've determined who is and is not part of the family unit according to our definition, now we're going to come in and fill this in. And filling this in up across here is going to help you know that you got it right. Because the number of adults should really only be 2 or 1. If there is a third adult, they really should be on a separate form. So that's going to help you know. No more than 2 adults, okay? Under 18 is however many children under 18 in the home. The 18 to 21 student is again going to help you. A lot of times people want to say, well, that's 3 adults, the mom and the dad and the 20-year-old student. Nope, they should be, the student should go here if they're a student. Because if they're not a student and they're over 18, they need to be on another form, right? And, well, it's a 23-year-old student. What do we do now? Well, it doesn't fit in here. They need to be on another form, okay? The unborn is a question. This is going to help you remember to ask that. Why do we need to know that? The only reason we ask that, the reason it's on here, is because this is a family unit really of 3 people, mom, dad, and a son, but we can count that unborn as the 4th person, and what we're fixing to look at is how much income this family size can make, and a bigger family unit, the more money they can make and qualify. So it just gives them a bigger family and allows them to earn more money. Now with a dental event, that can also be a good question because some dentists will not see a pregnant female for dental services, and some will. So Anna, do you know about that? Is that
Yeah, it's on our form.
okay? So
On the medical form.
on the medical form. So will any of the dentists see a pregnant female?
Yeah.
Okay, so some do.
Yeah,
Some do.
that's some too, maybe some of them just don't do it after the 3rd trimester. But that's a good question I do need to ask my dentist.
So that's going to help you remember to ask that question. And again, it may not matter so much for the dental services, but again, maybe she's thinking she wants to go see the dentist, and that may make a difference in whether she can or not if the dentist will allow it. And then total family size. So that kind of filled in at the end is helpful again to make sure you kind of got it right. So now we know who is and is not part of this family unit. Now we're going to fill this out. First name, last name, date of birth of each of those people. Next column is employer. Next column is the gross earned income for the last 4 weeks. They could be making $1 million 5 weeks ago, lost their job, and have 0 income for the last 4 weeks. That's what goes on here, last 4 weeks, okay? Last column is the gross unearned income for the last 4 weeks, and it says do not include TCA, which stands for temporary cash assistance. You do not have to count. And the other thing you do not have to count is SSI. This is referring to supplemental security income. Supplemental security income does not have to be counted. If somebody says, and I would ask, do you get a monthly check every month? They're not going to necessarily know what's your gross unearned income for the last 4 weeks. They're going to be going, what are you talking about? Do you get a monthly check every month, Mr. Johnson? He says, oh yeah, I get SSI, $500 every month. Do you mean Social Security income? So Social Security income could be called SSI, so you have to kind of feel that out. If it's Social Security income as a pension or retirement, that is counted. And I'm gonna refer you back again to that page 3, that all-important page 3. Number 2 in the second bullet talks about the gross unearned income. And these are the things that you do have to count. It is Social Security income as a pension or retirement. So if he says I get SSI, do you mean Social Security? Yep, that's my pension. That is counted. Oh, you had your little finger. I thought, was that a question?
Yeah.
Disability, workman's comp, child support, unemployment, everything is counted as unearned income. I mean, earned income is obviously earned, but the unearned, except for the temporary cash assistance, supplemental security income, and the other thing is that sometimes people get is, it's called SNAP, or EBT cards that have money that they get for food. Does not have to be counted. Other than that, everything else pretty much is either their earned income or an unearned income. Any questions with any of that? Take a break in.
So I put same as nominal, commission, same.
Yeah, it's SNAP. It's sometimes called SNAP or EBT, but sometimes people get like a little card, they call it an EBT card, that is for food. That does not have to be counted. Any other questions? So, and we've got listed here on the sample $400 CS for child support, okay, as unearned income. So now we've taken the gross earned income and the unearned income and added it together and have a total income of $5,100 for this family of 4. Okay? So now if you'll flip past your financial form, there is a poverty level guideline chart. And this is 200% poverty. This is double poverty level. This is the maximum threshold somebody can earn to qualify, okay, depending on the size of their family. So this is a family of 4. The maximum they can earn is $5,000 a month. Well, our family has earned $5,100, so right now they do not qualify, or a little bit over. But if it's below this, okay, and then they qualify. Great, they keep on going, okay. If somebody says 0, but when you're asking them, do you have any earned income? Nope. Do you have any unearned income? Do you get a monthly check? Nope. 0, 0, 0. Then that's what you put, 0, 0, 0. Okay. And please put zeros if that's the case instead of just leave it blank. Okay. So I know that it wasn't just left off or something, or a dash, or a line or something like that. But anyway, so this family is a little bit over right now. They don't qualify. Section 3 is here to kind of give them a second chance. We're going to give them some credits and kind of give them a second chance. But if they already qualify here, you don't have to do anything to Section 3 because they already qualify. This is only if they don't qualify. It's an opportunity to help them out. Section 3 says budget computation to be completed if the family income is above that poverty level. So since they're above the level, we're going to look at this and fill it out. Step 1, you plug in the total family income, so we put the $5,100 there. In step 2, you can subtract $90 for each employed member of the family. There's 2, so we deducted $180. In step 3, you can subtract child care paid each month, depending on the age of the child or the children. This could be a huge deduction for a working family that's got kids in daycare. Even if grandma down the street or grandma in the house watches them for $50 a week, you could take that as a deduction for that. In step 4, you can subtract up to $50 a month of total child support received. Well, we showed that they had received some child support, so we're going to give them that $50 credit. And now we've recalculated the income to $4,870. And checking the poverty level guideline chart, they are now below that threshold, so they do qualify. Did you have a question, Pastor Chin? No. So they qualify, okay? Yay. But what if they're still over? If they're still over, they don't qualify. So that's the third final qualifier. No dental insurance, no Medicaid dental benefits, and then falling below this poverty level guideline for the family unit. Okay? Any questions with any of that? Again, if they qualify up here, you can completely skip that section 3. You don't have to do it. You don't have to note it. You can see that. At this point, they qualify, so we're going to ask them to please, we're going to hand them this form. Would you please read it and sign it and date it? Sign it and date it. So,
In our case, when they come in to register, they will look over all their paperwork, and that's when they'll sign it and date it.
But we just ask them about the income, but we just take it whenever they.
That's right.
self-declared, yes, sir, that is right. You don't have to have proof of any income. That is correct. Okay. And so when they're coming in and you're on your little duty of doing this, getting them to sign the forms, their signature on this form is the most important thing on the form, okay? So when they come in and you're trying to get them all situated to get in to see the dentist, please be sure that they're signing the form over on this side here, on the left side, patient's name and date. If Mr. Johnson, and also to let him know what this says, by your signature, I would, my initial thought is, please read this and sign it and date it. But if someone couldn't read it, maybe they can't read English or they can't read at all, and they say, well, what am I signing? I would first say, do you want me to read it to you? I would be happy to. We want people to know what they're signing. Most people just say, just tell me what it says. And it right here, and this is what I would do, and by my finger, by your signature, you're certifying that the information you've provided is true and complete. That's what holds them accountable for all of this information being self-declared, okay? Signature and date. If Mr. Johnson can't read, maybe he can't write, I need something there that is representative of a signature. It could be an X. It could be their name printed. I've seen people print their names way down here on the bottom, as long as there's something that's representative of that patient's signature, okay? If they can't write, maybe they can't write the date, it's okay if you put the date over here, but the important thing with that is that the current date goes by the patient's name, because over on the right, your name is going to go there. You are the Department of Health volunteer. You are screener. Your name is going to be printed there, and then you're going to put the expiration date, which is 1 year from the date that patient signs. So don't put the current date by your name, or guess what? This form is immediately expired, and these are the forms that protect the dentist and Florida Baptist and the providers with that sovereign immunity. So we want to make sure current date by the patient's name or signature and 1 year expiration date, which is irrelevant really because you have just a one-time event, but that goes by your name.
So Lori, when we're filling these out on the phone, no signature.
There will be no signatures and
The signature
and no
is done-
dates.
Right, and no dates. We do it when they are in person.
And sign it, that is correct. Good point, very good point. If a patient comes in on Monday to see a dentist and then has maybe several teeth that need to be pulled, and you have an opportunity for that patient to come back on another day, a Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, Tuesday even. This form, so like I was saying, it's good for a year. The next form we're going to look at is not, you'd have to do 2 of those, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But this form would still be good if the patient comes for a second visit. Okay? Any questions? Any other questions with this form?
What if they come back for a second visit, but their income changed? Let's say they make more money.
I didn't want to say that, but that could happen. I mean, realistically, you should ask them, has anything changed? So, very good point. Typically, they're going to say no. Sometimes I've got medical clinics that use these forms for a whole year and nothing ever changes, and I'm like, okay, if you say so, but because it's self-declared. But yeah, if that happened, then you'd have to do a new form. You couldn't just change it on here. You would have to do a new form. Good questions. Any other questions? Okay, so again, this is the first form you're going to want to do, okay? Then flip past your poverty level guideline chart. So again, bring these with you, or maybe you'll have them. Well, I keep thinking, because most everybody has the day where everybody comes in and we all do these forms on that day. So, but there might be there might be somebody walking in that week, so whoever's doing it that week should have the little packet so they can have that poverty level guideline. This form here, it says at the top, volunteer healthcare provider program, patient referral form. These two paragraphs are what we call informed consent. We're informing the patient they're consenting to treatment. So what are we informing them of? Again, typically I would hand this form to the patient. Mr. Johnson, would you please read this? And again, sign it and date it. Sign it and date it. Okay? If he says, oh, that's a lot of information. What is that I'm signing? I would say, would you like me to read it to you? I would be happy to. I want people to know what they're signing, right? But just tell me what it says. I have underlined a few things that I would say to shorten it, but please take a few minutes at some point in time to read those two paragraphs in their entirety so you know everything that it says. What I would say, this is saying you're being referred to a volunteer provider. Your participation is voluntary. We're not making you come to the clinic, but if you want to see the dentist, I need you to sign this form, because by acceptance of this referral, you acknowledge that the state is solely liable. That means if you can't sue me, if you have any problems, you can't sue the dentist, you're going to take it up with the state of Florida. Okay, that's the sovereign immunity protection of the providers and the Florida Baptist Convention. Second paragraph, Mr. Johnson, you are authorizing examination, diagnostic procedures, and treatment. And again, you're certifying that the information you provided is true and complete. Signature and date. Signature and date. Signature and date. Don't forget that signature and date. Let me ask this. Do you know if there's going to be any children seen? Yeah. So there should not be filled in if treatment is for a minor. That should not come into play for the children. So next little section. Over on the left, it says patient's name, address, and phone. Over on the right, date of birth, sex, race, and ethnicity. Excuse me. Bless you. This form, when you fill it out, and say you've got both a husband and a wife, or a boyfriend and a girlfriend that both want to see the dentist, okay? They're both going to be on this form. So you can make a copy of this and put in the other person's chart, because every patient will have their own chart. So this one you can make a copy of to put in the other person's chart. This one says patient's name. So each patient, so if it's a husband and wife, each one of them are going to fill this one out, or sign this one. Not fill it out, don't let them fill it out, you fill it out. Each one of them will sign this one, okay? Next little teeny tiny section is eligibility, and it's circled there, 200% poverty or less. It will always be that on every single form you have. That 200% poverty or less will be circled because they have to be found eligible based on that poverty level guideline. Next little section is referral type, and it's going to be dental care. And then over here on the left in notes, it's going to say dental exam and treatment on every single one. Dental exam and treatment, because that's what you guys are going to, well, not you guys are going to do. Don't examine anybody. Don't pull anybody's teeth. Let the dentist do that. Dental exam and treatment. Over on the right, print the name of the DOH referring person. That is going to be you, the screener. You are referring the person to this event. That's all that means. You're referring them to the dental event. So your name as the screener is going to go printed and signed and dated. Again, it says new one each time. If Mr. Johnson comes in a second time, this is the form you'll have to do again. Financial form, nothing's changed. It's good to go. You don't have to note it or do anything to that one. You just need to do a new one of these per visit. Okay?
You might also mention this is a multi-copy.
Yes. Good job, Ms. Eva. And I'm going to give you some. So these are a 3+ reply. I'm gonna go ahead and open one. Oh, cause you might wanna give these out so everybody has a handful.
Whoever's going to call the people who register. Do you know who that's gonna be? Is it gonna be everybody or?
You know, here's what we are doing right now, that we do a promotion on the social media and the BB community, testing you, and they contact us, you know, I ask them the question, like what I told you before, and then they text me all the information. And what we do that we will, you know, write down. Once we have the form and we just fill out the form. And then if we need to ask him any questions, then we call him back and we need, you know, when we fill out the form.
So who's gonna do that? Just a couple of people or?
But right now, that because, you know, I have the one who do that.
But are you gonna be the one calling the person back and asking all these detailed questions?
Yes.
Well, you know, any of these people can do it now. And that's okay. I mean, that's your decision, your choice. But this is why you're going through this training. So, I mean, you could delegate, and that's where Ann is going with that. So this form, so the form in your training packet is a photocopy, but this is what, they're actually a 3-ply form. So there's two photocopies behind that. And so she's asking because you could, if 2 or 3 of you are going to do it, you can each take some of these forms because then you can fill them right out from talking to somebody else.
But that doesn't mean like, you know, I'm the only one to do it, because after the training, everybody will be able to do it, right?
Right,
yes.
That's right. And
Well,
because
it'd probably be best to just leave all the forms with him and let him.
Oh, yeah, that's amongst yourselves who you want to do
Now,
that.
I noticed those aren't colored anymore,
They're all the same. And you know, here's the other weird thing too, because now the back one says to providers as needed, to patient medical records,
The middle one's always.
to patient. Well, no, it should be the back one because the
Yeah, it's the back one.
one's got this information.
Yeah.
They misprinted them, so, so
Remember
this.
I told you you needed to print up address labels to put on these forms? See down here, referred to, we haven't got to that section yet, but it says Florida Baptist Convention Mobile Dental Unit, and then the name of the host church. That is where just on the patient copy, so that'll be the second copy in this form.
It really should be the last.
You want it on the last?
Yeah, because this goes to the patient,
Oh, because of the print on the back?
Yeah.
so it's wrong, and that's why I haven't been using them so much, but just so you know, yeah.
So you can write it into every single form, but it's a whole lot easier just to make a little label and stick it on the back copy of that 3-copy form.
Can we do the same? Can we same?
Yes.
Yeah, we do the
Absolutely.
same.
And I took them out and I didn't give it to you, so it's saying that the second copy is for the patient, but really it should be the last copy because of this information. And I'm gonna talk about that in just a minute, but I'm gonna leave you, these are packs of 50, so I'll leave you a couple of packs, and then,
Okay.
like I said, if you know that there's gonna be 2 or 3 people, you know, the only thing I would say when you're if you're using these is don't stack all your papers up in a nice little pile and start writing the financial form first on top of this one, because these are 2 carbons. That last page then will have like all kind of gobbledygook from where you were writing, which is okay, but just when you first see it, you're gonna go, it's made all this, you know, the copies. But anyway, that's the only thing I can say about it. So there's those, and I'll give you those. So good point. Got any questions about that? Anybody got any questions about that?
So you will be filling out this form at the same time you fill out this form. Once they qualify, you will go ahead and fill out this form.
And then
If they
again,
don't
they're
qualify,
you
don't fill
stop,
out.
yeah.
And that's what I told it. If they are not qualified, we don't call them back.
Correct.
You know, that means like.
Well, but you're not gonna know they're qualified.
Until
No,
you call
yeah,
them
that-
back,
yeah,
yeah, get
that-
some more information.
When we, you know, based on like, after the training, after the training today, like, we know how, you know,
visits, and if you've got enough slots, they can come for a second time or a third time, I don't know, you know, however many
I
times.
was question about the income. You know, like lots of they do like 1099 form. So when I applied for Obamacare, I told the lady my income is 45,000
A year,
a year, and she calculated deduct. I only wrote income for me only 27,000.
right,
That different from
that was huge difference,
Yeah,
yes.
I know we do that in here. Or we
So no, it's the last 4 weeks.
yeah, I know.
So
I know.
what-
I just example like 1 month, one month. If I do 1099, I make 4,000. But they will deduct it out only 3,000 right away, not like W2.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So-
different,
so-
yes,
so-
yes. So you're right, and that might be a good thing or a bad thing because you can't take, say, you got a W-2 that said 12,000 for the year, and you divide that into 12 months, that's, average $1,000 a month is not the same as what was actually for the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's a very different way. It can sometimes be beneficial if somebody has maybe earned money and then lost their job. Maybe they had earned a lot of money and then lost their job in the last month or 2 months and not had any income. The last 4 weeks is what you would count.
Good, good.
And I've had somebody question that it was a couple that had retired and they had once a year they would get an annual payout to live on for the whole year. And they got that in the last 4 weeks. So they didn't really get any other income, but it was like $35,000. That's what they had to live on for a year. But because they got it within that last 4 weeks, that had to be counted as income versus any of the other time it would have been zero. So that's a little bit different. It is different than calculating it for
Let me talk again. Tôi mua Obamacare, họ hỏi tôi làm một năm bao nhiêu, tôi nói 45.000. Cái cô mà làm giấy tờ cho tôi á là cô calculate deduct supply tiền này tiền đó, cái rốt income tôi còn lại chỉ 27.000 thôi. Nó khác với cái W2 á, tại vì nếu mà người ta đa số ở đây Việt Nam mình làm nail á, họ cài đó thì tôi không biết họ calculate như thế nào, nhưng mà cái gross income tôi nó còn có 27.000 thôi.
Nhưng mà cái này mình không thể dựa theo cả năm.
Không 4 tháng đâu, ví dụ nhưng mà cái thêm này anh mỗi tuần nó khác với cái W2. Tại mỗi tuần ví dụ anh làm ngàn là nó calculate anh xuống còn có 750 thôi là cái gross income, tại vì nó tính tiền supply, tiền gas, tiền đồ, nó bó cái đó ra. Nó khác cái chỗ đó chứ nó không có giống cái cô cái bán cô chạy cái cười.
Nhưng mà em nghĩ cái đó mua bảo hiểm của Obamacare thì nó khác, còn cái này mình chỉ dựa hỏi ví dụ bây giờ bốn cái tuần giờ là làm bao nhiêu mà cái đó mình 2.000 mình đi 2.000 mình không theo.
Biết rồi, nhưng mà cái người mà làm nail mà như thưa họ nói mình 2.000 á là mình phải deduct cái tiền supply và cái tiền expense của họ, chứ nó không có giống như
Thường thường người Việt Nam mà số họ gọi vô đó thì thường họ hỏi là cái income, cái requirement là bao nhiêu thì mới được. Thì ví dụ mình nói như vậy là lúc nào họ cũng mấy kịp là đúng không? Họ theo còn chứ không có bao giờ mà chứ không phải là cho nên mình cứ thực ra mình cứ hỏi mình cứ lấy những gì họ báo mình biết thôi. Nhưng mà mình cũng dặn họ trước là mình lấy nó information của họ, nhưng mà mình ưu tiên cho những người nào cần nhất, ví dụ những người lớn tuổi hay là những người mình cần biết thì mình ưu tiên theo cái từ để họ biết, thì mình sẽ liên lạc lại với họ khi mà
Okay, so we're done.
Okay.